The sensor arrays of the Deep Space Monitoring Station screamed their warnings into the void. Commander's forearms trembled as she stared at the impossible readings flooding her displays. The massive detection grid, spanning 3 star systems and capable of tracking objects the size of shuttlecraft from 50 light-years away, had just registered something that all known physics. "Impossible," she whispered through her breathing apparatus, her scaled face growing pale. "Run the diagnostics again immediately." Senior Technician Al's tentacles danced across his control interface with practiced efficiency. His species, were renowned throughout the Empire for their technical precision. If anyone could make sense of these readings, it would be him. After several tense minutes, he turned his bulbous head toward the commander, his 3 eyes wide with terror. "Commander, the sensors are functioning perfectly. The object, it's real, and it's massive beyond comprehension." The main display flickered to life, showing a 3-dimensional representation of local space. In the center, a pulsing red dot moved steadily through the outer rim of the Empire's territory. The scale indicators beside it made blood run cold. "Verify those measurements," she ordered, her voice barely a whisper. "And triple-checked, Commander. The object measures approximately 12 kilometers in length, 4 kilometers in width, and 3 kilometers in height. Mass readings are inconclusive due to the exotic energy signatures it's emitting." 12 kilometers. Had served in the Imperial Navy for 37 cycles, had witnessed the construction of the massive stations, had even been present during the deployment of the Empire's largest dreadnoughts. The biggest warship in the Imperial fleet, the Pride of Engineering, measured just over 2 kilometers in length. This thing was 6 times larger. But size wasn't what made her hands shake as she reached for the emergency communication array. It was the energy signature. "Show me the power readings again," she commanded. The display shifted, revealing energy output measurements that seemed to mock everything the Empire understood about physics. The object's power generation exceeded that of a small star. Not a space station powered by stellar collection arrays, not a mobile platform with fusion reactors the size of moons. This single vessel was producing more energy than some entire star systems. "Commander," Al's voice carried the weight of species-wide terror, "I'm detecting something else. The object. It's not just moving through our space. It's scanning, actively. The sensor sweeps are so powerful they're interfering with our own detection grids." Before it could respond, every screen in the monitoring station flickered. For a brief moment, static filled the displays, and then they cleared to show something that would haunt the Empire's nightmares for generations to come. A ship, not just any ship, but a vessel that seemed to embody the concept of war itself. Its hull was a matte black that seemed to absorb light, broken only by geometric patterns that pulsed with an ominous red glow. Weapon ports dotted its surface like the scales of some predatory beast, and massive engines that could dwarf entire cities pushed it forward through space with casual contempt for the laws of physics. But it was the markings on the hull that sent ice through veins. Symbols in a written language unknown to the Empire's vast databases, and beneath them, clearly visible even at this distance, the image of a world, a blue and green sphere that meant nothing to but somehow radiated menace. "Get me a direct line to High Command," ordered, her training finally overcoming her terror. "Emergency priority, and activate the quantum beacon network. Every station, every fleet, every world in the Empire needs to know about this." As Al's tentacles flew across his controls, establishing the connection that would carry news of humanity's arrival to the far corners of the galaxy, neither of them noticed the subtle change in their own sensor readings. The mysterious vessel had detected their monitoring station. More than that, it had effortlessly penetrated their security protocols and was now casually examining their databases. Aboard the UES Vengeance, Captain Sarah stood before the main tactical display, her expression calm despite the magnitude of their situation. The bridge around her buzzed with quiet efficiency as her crew processed the avalanche of intelligence flowing in from their passive scans of local space. "Report," she said simply. Commander James Wright, her executive officer, consulted his holographic displays. "We've identified 17 monitoring stations throughout this sector, Captain. Looks like we've triggered a few of their early warning systems. The nearest one is currently attempting to establish communications with their central command." "Let them," replied. How long until we reach the border of what their databases classify as core territory? At current speed, approximately 14 hours, ma'am. Nodded, her gaze fixed on the tactical display showing the incredible sprawl of the Empire. Thousands of star systems, hundreds of species, military assets that numbered in the millions. By any conventional measure, they were flying into certain destruction. A single human vessel against the combined might of a galactic empire. The thought brought a slight smile to her lips. Ma'am, Lieutenant Davis called from the communications station, we're intercepting massive amounts of encrypted traffic throughout the region. Their communication networks are lighting up like a Christmas tree. Can you break their encryption? Already done, Captain. The AI finished cracking their quantum encryption protocols about 10 minutes ago. We're now monitoring all military and civilian communications within 50 light years. Smile widened slightly. The aliens had no idea what they were dealing with. While they scrambled to make sense of the Vengeance's arrival, her ship's artificial intelligence was already deep inside their networks, cataloging their defensive capabilities, troop movements, and most importantly, their tactical doctrines. What's our intelligence assessment so far? Wright's expression grew thoughtful as he processed the incoming data. Fascinating, actually. The Empire appears to be a confederation of species united under a single military command structure. Their technology is impressive, but in a very different direction from ours. They seem to focus on efficiency and standardization rather than raw power. Explain. Their ships are numerous and well-coordinated, but individual units are relatively weak. They appear to rely on overwhelming numbers and precise tactical coordination. Their largest warships are heavily armored but carry weapons that would be considered light armament by our standards. Absorbed this information. It matched the intelligence they'd gathered during their long journey to this region of space. Humanity had encountered the outer edge of territory almost a year ago, when one of their automated survey probes had stumbled across a human research station. The subsequent diplomatic contact had revealed a galaxy-spanning empire that viewed humanity as a primitive, recently spacefaring species suitable for absorption into their growing confederation. The Empire's diplomatic overtures had been polite but firm. Humanity would be granted the honor of joining the collective, contributing their unique biological and technological distinctiveness to the greater good. Resistance was not an option, it never was, for any species the Empire encountered. Humanity's response had been to send the Vengeance. Captain, Chief Engineer's voice crackled over the intercom, all systems green across the board. Fusion reactors are running at standard efficiency, quantum drives are nominal, and the weapon systems are fully charged and ready. Thank you, Chief, turned back to Wright. What's the status of our primary mission objectives? Wright consulted his displays again. We've successfully mapped the outer defensive perimeter of their core systems. Intelligence indicates their primary fleet staging areas are concentrated around the approximately 6 days away at our current speed. As for our secondary objectives. He paused and his expression grew grim. We've confirmed the location of the human settlements they've relocated from the outer territories. 17 colonies, totaling approximately 2 million civilians, have been moved to what they call integration facilities in 3 separate star systems. His jaw tightened. Integration facilities. The Empire's euphemism for forced labor camps where conquered populations were broken down and rebuilt according to social models. The intelligence reports from their initial contact had made it clear what integration entailed: cultural destruction, genetic modification, and the complete erasure of human identity. Any intelligence on security around these facilities? Moderate, they don't appear to expect any rescue attempts. Why would they? No species has ever successfully challenged the Empire once their populations were under control. Until now, said quietly. The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of the ship's systems. Every member of her crew understood the magnitude of their mission. They weren't just here to rescue their captured people. They were here to send a message to the galaxy. Humanity would not be absorbed, would not be integrated, would not quietly disappear into the collective. Ma'am, Davis called from communications, I'm picking up something interesting. The monitoring station that first detected us has established contact with what appears to be a major fleet command center. They're reporting our presence to someone called the Sector Admiral. Put it on speaker, translated, of course. The bridge filled with the alien sounds of the language, followed immediately by the ship's AI providing a real-time translation in clear, emotionless English. Unprecedented energy signatures detected. Vessel size exceeds all known classifications. Recommend immediate activation of Sector Defense Protocol 7. Negative station control. Maintain observation only, deploying Third Fleet to intercept course. All monitoring stations report any changes immediately. Confirmed, Fleet Command. Be advised, the vessel appears to be conducting active intelligence gathering. Our security networks have registered multiple intrusion attempts. Exchanged glances with Wright. The aliens were being remarkably restrained, sending only a single fleet to investigate rather than mobilizing everything they had. It spoke to their confidence in their own capabilities and their complete inability to comprehend what they were facing. "How large is this third fleet?" she asked. "According to their communications, approximately 300 vessels," Wright replied after consulting the intelligence feeds. "Mixture of cruisers, destroyers, and support craft, led by a Dreadnought-class command ship. 300 ships had faced worse odds during the campaign, but never with so much at stake. If the Vengeance was destroyed here, humanity's location would remain unknown to the Empire, but their captured people would be lost forever. Time to intercept. 6 hours, assuming they maintain current speed." Nodded and turned to address her bridge crew. "Ladies, in 6 hours we're going to make first contact with the Imperial Navy. They're expecting to meet a primitive species that got lucky with one impressive ship. Instead, they're about to discover what happens when you threaten humanity." She moved to her command chair, settling into the worn leather that had seen her through a dozen impossible battles. "All departments, begin combat preparations. I want full battle stations in 5 hours. And someone get me a tactical analysis of their fleet composition. It's time to show these aliens why humans don't make good subjects." As her crew sprang into action around her, allowed herself one last look at the tactical display showing their position relative to the vast empire. Somewhere in this galaxy, 2 million human beings were waiting for rescue, probably without any hope that help would come. They were wrong. Help had come, in the form of 12 kilometers of human engineering and the absolute refusal to surrender that had carried humanity from a single world to the stars. The Empire was about to learn that some species simply could not be conquered. Admiral Orr stood in the command center of the Dreadnought Sovereign's Wrath, his multiple arms clasped behind his back as he studied the tactical displays surrounding him. 47 years of service to the Empire, victories against 17 different species, and not once had he encountered anything that gave him pause. The vessel approaching his fleet should have been no different. "Should have been. Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority that had crushed rebellions across 3 galactic quadrants. Captain, his tactical officer, manipulated her control interface with nervous efficiency. "Admiral, the unknown vessel continues on its current trajectory. Speed remains constant at—" "Well, sir, our instruments are having difficulty with precise measurements, but it appears to be traveling at approximately 15% of light speed." Orr's main eyes narrowed while his auxiliary optical organs focused on the energy readings. 15% of light speed. The Empire's fastest ships, equipped with the most advanced propulsion systems known to galactic civilization, could achieve perhaps 8% of light speed for brief periods before their engines overheated. This alien vessel was casually cruising at nearly twice that velocity. "Weapons analysis." "That's more concerning, sir." Scales had taken on the pale coloration that indicated stress among her species. "We've identified what appear to be weapon ports across the vessel's hull. Conservative count places the number at over 3,000 discrete firing positions. 3,000 weapons. The Sovereign's Wrath, pride of the Third Fleet and one of the most heavily armed vessels in the Imperial Navy, mounted exactly 237 weapon systems. Even accounting for differences in individual weapon yield, the mathematical implications were staggering. "Sir," communications officer called from his station, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel." Or straightened, "Finally, communication. Perhaps this would be resolved through diplomacy, as so many first contacts were. The Empire preferred integration through negotiation when possible. It was more efficient than conquest, and usually resulted in more cooperative new subjects. Put it through full translation protocols. The main display flickered, and suddenly Admiral Orr found himself looking at something that challenged his understanding of galactic biology. The alien was clearly humanoid, but wrong in subtle ways that his predator instincts immediately cataloged as dangerous. 2 arms instead of 4, insufficient optical organs, and a skeletal structure that seemed far too rigid for a spacefaring species. But it was the alien's eyes that made Orr's combat instincts scream warnings. They held an intelligence that was both familiar and utterly foreign, and behind that intelligence was something the Admiral had never seen in any species the Empire had encountered: complete and absolute confidence. "I am Captain Sarah of the United Earth Ship Vengeance," the alien said, its voice carrying clearly through the translation matrix. "I'm transmitting this message to inform you that your fleet is currently blocking the passage of a human vessel through space that does not belong to your empire." Or blinked all 6 eyes in confusion. The arrogance was unprecedented. No species had ever addressed the Imperial Navy with such casual dismissal. "Furthermore," the human continued, "your empire currently holds approximately 2 million human citizens in what you term integration facilities. I am here to negotiate their immediate and unconditional release." The command center fell silent except for the subtle hum of the ship systems. Around the bridge, officers exchanged glances that ranged from disbelief to outright amusement. A single alien vessel was attempting to dictate terms to the Empire. Or activated his own communication system. "Alien vessel, I am Admiral Orr of the Imperial Navy, commanding the 3rd Fleet. You have entered sovereign territory without authorization. Under Imperial law, your vessel will be impounded and your crew will be processed for integration into the Empire. Reduce your speed immediately and prepare to be boarded." The response came back almost instantly, and this time the human was smiling. It was not a pleasant expression. "Admiral Orr, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. I'm not requesting anything from your empire. I'm informing you of what's going to happen. My people will be released. Your empire will withdraw from all systems containing human settlements, and you will cease all expansion activities in this region of the galaxy." Or felt his blood temperature drop several degrees. "Alien, you appear to misunderstand your situation. You command a single vessel against the combined might of the Empire. Surrender now, and your integration will be conducted with minimal discomfort." "Admiral," the human replied, and now its voice carried something that made veteran warriors across the bridge check their weapon systems involuntarily. "You appear to misunderstand your situation. You command 300 ships designed to fight other vessels, using tactics, following doctrine. You have no comprehension of human capabilities, human technology, or human determination." The transmission paused, and when the human spoke again, its words would echo through Imperial intelligence networks for the rest of the war. "Allow me to educate you." The connection terminated. For a moment, the command center remained silent. Then tactical alarms began screaming throughout the ship. Admiral's voice cracked with disbelief. "The alien vessel just accelerated to 60% of light speed." "Impossible, no ship can." "Sir, it's firing." The main tactical display exploded with activity as the human ship unleashed its first demonstration of power. Streams of energy that burned brighter than stars lanced out from its weapon ports, but these weren't aimed at the fleet. Instead, they struck 3 of the system's outer planets with surgical precision. When the energy dissipated, the planets were gone. Not destroyed, not shattered, simply gone, their matter converted to energy so efficiently that barely any debris remained. Analysis, or whispered, "Admiral, each of those planets was larger than the energy required to achieve total matter conversion on that scale." His voice trailed off as her instruments tried to quantify the impossible. "Sir," communications crackled with emergency traffic from across the fleet. "Captain Ass of the cruiser reports complete sensor failure. The human vessel just passed directly through their formation at impossible velocity." Orr's tactical display showed the impossible truth. The alien ship had accelerated from its original position, demonstrated its weapons capabilities, and somehow traveled the entire distance to the fleet's rear guard in less than 3 minutes. The mathematics involved broke every law of physics the Empire understood. "All ships combat formation," he ordered. Activate planetary defense shields, route power from life support to weapons. As his fleet scrambled to respond to an enemy moving faster than their sensors could track, Admiral, or began to understand, that this was not going to be a standard first contact scenario. Aboard the Vengeance, Captain watched the alien fleet's response with professional interest. Their coordination was impressive, 300 ships moving into defensive formations with practiced efficiency. Their response time was excellent by galactic standards, probably no more than 4 minutes from her initial demonstration to full combat readiness. It wouldn't matter. Weapon status, she called. All primary arrays charged and ready, Captain, replied Commander Torres from the tactical station. Target locks established on all enemy vessels. Defensive systems show multiple incoming missile salvos, approximately 4,000 projectiles inbound. Point defense. Honestly, ma'am, it's overkill. Their missiles appear to be fusion-based with conventional guidance systems. Our point defense could handle 10 times that number. Nodded, the intelligence analysis had been accurate. The fought wars of attrition, overwhelming enemies with numbers and coordinated firepower. Against opponents using similar technology, it was probably quite effective. Let them close to optimal range, she ordered. I want them to see exactly how outmatched they are. Ma'am, Lieutenant Davis reported from communications, I'm monitoring their fleet communications. The Admiral is requesting immediate reinforcements from Sector Command. He's requesting everything they have available. How much is everything? According to their military databases, Sector Command can deploy approximately 1,500 additional vessels within 72 hours. 1,500 ships, plus the 300 currently facing them, against one human vessel. Allowed herself a moment of genuine sympathy for the aliens. They had built their empire through superior numbers and coordination, conquering species after species through sheer overwhelming force. They had probably never encountered an enemy that couldn't be defeated through conventional tactics. Ma'am, incoming missiles will reach effective range in 30 seconds, Torres reported. Acknowledged, begin point defense intercept. I want a clean demonstration, destroy every incoming projectile, but don't return fire yet. What followed was less a battle than a physics lesson. 4,000 missiles, representing the combined opening salvo of 300 warships, streaked toward the Vengeance with velocities that would have been impressive against any target in the known galaxy. The human ship's point defense systems activated. Streams of particles moving at 95% of light speed reached out from the Vengeance like the fingers of an angry god. Each stream lasted for microseconds. Each contact with an incoming missile resulted in complete annihilation. In less than 12 seconds, 4,000 incoming weapons simply ceased to exist. My God, whispered Ensign Parker from the sensor station. Captain, their entire opening barrage. It's like it never happened. Studied the tactical display showing the alien fleet's formation. They were holding position, probably trying to process what they had just witnessed. Their most powerful weapons, fired in perfect coordination, had been effortlessly negated. Open a channel, she ordered. The main screen once again showed Admiral, but the confident commander from their previous conversation had been replaced by something approaching terror. Admiral, began, her voice calm and professional, I trust my point defense demonstration was instructive. As you can see, your conventional weapons pose no threat to my vessel. However, I am not here to destroy your fleet. I'm here to retrieve my people and establish the terms of human sovereignty in this region. Human, replied, and could hear the effort it took him to maintain his composure. What you've demonstrated is impressive, but you remain outnumbered 300 to 1. Even if your defenses are superior, we can overwhelm. Admiral, let me stop you there. His interruption was gentle but firm. You're thinking tactically. You're considering this engagement as if it were between conventional forces using conventional weapons. Allow me to clarify the situation. She gestured, and her tactical officer transmitted a complete sensor analysis of the fleet to every ship in the enemy formation. You are currently facing a single human battleship. Our analysis indicates that your combined fleet masses approximately 2 million tons and can generate roughly 12 terawatts of sustained power. The Vengeance masses 8 million tons and generates 430 terawatts of power. She paused to let the numbers sink in. More importantly, our weapons technology operates on principles your science has not yet discovered. We don't fire projectiles or energy beams. We manipulate matter at the quantum level. We don't destroy targets. We convince them to stop existing. Impossible, or whispered. Admiral, I just demonstrated the conversion of 3 planets to energy. Your ships are held together by molecular bonds that I can break with a thought. Your armor plating is composed of atoms that my weapons can convince to become something else entirely. Leaned forward slightly. I could destroy your entire fleet in the next 60 seconds. All 300 ships, every one of your crews, every piece of technology you've brought to this engagement. I could do it so efficiently that there wouldn't be debris left to mark where you died. The alien fleet's communications traffic exploded as her words were translated and transmitted to every ship. Terror, disbelief, desperate requests for orders from higher command. But I won't, continued. Because genocide is not why I'm here. I want you to return to your empire. I want you to tell them exactly what you've seen. I want them to understand that humanity is not another species to be integrated into your collective. What are you? Or asked. Smiled, and this time it held no malice, only the quiet confidence of a species that had clawed its way from a single world to the stars through pure, bloody-minded determination. We're human, Admiral. We're the species that looked at a universe full of dangers and decided we belonged here anyway. We're the species that turned every setback into motivation, every defeat into a lesson, every challenge into an opportunity to become stronger. And Admiral, she continued, her voice carrying across space to 300 ships filled with warriors who were beginning to understand they had encountered something beyond their comprehension. We're the species that will do anything, pay any price, face any odds to protect our own. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral or staring at a blank screen while around him. The greatest fleet he had ever commanded waited for orders that might determine the fate of the Empire itself. High Command buzzed with an energy that Supreme Admiral had not felt in decades. The massive command center, carved from a single asteroid and equipped with communication arrays that could coordinate military operations across half the galaxy, had become a nexus of barely controlled panic. Reports flooded in from every monitoring station in the sector. Long-range sensor networks detected impossible energy signatures. Communication intercepts revealed Admiral Orr's Third Fleet requesting immediate evacuation support. Most disturbing of all, quantum communication arrays had detected the complete annihilation of 3 planetary bodies in the system. "Show me the tactical recording again," commanded, his 6 arms working independently to process data streams from dozens of sources. The main holographic display recreated the engagement based on sensor data transmitted by the Third Fleet. A single vessel, massive beyond previous conception, demonstrating technologies that challenged fundamental understanding of physics. The destruction of 3 planets not through conventional bombardment, but through some impossible process that converted matter directly to energy. "Analysis," he ordered. Fleet Intelligence Coordinator consulted her extensive data banks, her species' legendary computational abilities working to make sense of the impossible. "Supreme Admiral, the energy output required for the demonstrated matter conversion exceeds our understanding of achievable power generation. Even if this species somehow harnessed the total output of a star, the focusing systems necessary to achieve such precise matter manipulation should be impossible to construct." "Yet we have observed exactly that," replied grimly. "What is the strategic assessment?" "Sir, if this vessel represents standard technology for this human species, the Empire faces an extinction-level threat. A single ship with these capabilities could systematically destroy every world in Imperial space within a matter of months." The command center fell silent except for the constant flow of incoming intelligence reports. Around the vast chamber, officers representing dozens of species that had been integrated into the Empire over the past millennium worked with quiet desperation to understand an enemy that comprehension. "What do we know about these humans?" asked. Senior intelligence analyst accessed the Empire's vast databases. "Relatively little, sir. First contact occurred 11 months ago when one of our survey fleets encountered a human research outpost in the Outer Territories. Initial assessment classified them as a recently spacefaring species, technologically primitive, suitable for standard integration protocols. Clearly, that assessment was incorrect. Yes, sir. However, our subsequent intelligence gathering did reveal significant information about human settlement patterns. They appear to have colonized approximately 47 systems in their region of space, with a total population estimated at just over 2 billion individuals. Processed this information. 2 billion humans spread across 47 systems. By imperial standards, it was a modest population. Some single worlds in the Empire held more inhabitants. Yet if each of those systems could produce vessels like the one currently terrorizing the Third Fleet. Sir, communications director and interrupted. I'm receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Orr. Put him through. The holographic display shifted to show the Admiral's command center. The normally composed officer looked like he had aged years in the past few hours. Behind him, status displays showed his fleet in full retreat formation. Supreme Admiral, Orr began, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. I must report that first contact with the human vessel has resulted in a complete tactical failure. Explain. Sir, the alien ship is operating with technologies that render our weapons completely ineffective. They demonstrated point defense capabilities that eliminated our entire opening salvo without apparent effort. More importantly, they claim to possess weapons that operate through quantum matter manipulation. Felt his primary heart skip a beat. Quantum matter manipulation was theoretical technology that the Empire's best scientists claimed was centuries away from practical application. Have they demonstrated these weapons? Sir, they destroyed 3 planets in our system as a warning demonstration. Complete matter-to-energy conversion. The planets simply ceased to exist. Around the command center, officers began checking their own sensor readings, confirming the impossible reports. Admiral, what are your current orders? Asked. Sir, the human captain has demanded the release of all human prisoners currently held in Imperial integration facilities. She has also demanded that the Empire withdraw from all systems containing human settlements. She claims she will begin systematic destruction if her demands are not met within 72 hours. Systematic destruction. His computational mind immediately began calculating the implications. If the humans possessed even a small fleet of vessels with capabilities matching what had been demonstrated, the Empire faced not just defeat, but complete annihilation. Admiral, withdraw your fleet to minimum safe distance and maintain observation. Do not engage unless directly attacked. Understood, sir. Supreme Admiral, there's something else. The human captain specifically stated that this vessel represents a rescue mission for their captured population. She implied that this is not their primary fleet. How many ships do they have? Whispered. Unknown, sir, but sir, if this is their idea of a rescue mission, what would they send for an actual war? After terminating the connection, stood alone in the command center while around him. The greatest military minds in the galaxy struggled to comprehend an enemy that existed beyond their understanding of possible. Aboard the Vengeance, Captain reviewed the intelligence reports flowing in from her ship's continued penetration of the communication networks. The Empire was in chaos. Military commanders across dozens of sectors were requesting clarification of threat assessments. Civilian populations on border worlds were demanding increased protection. Most importantly, the locations of the human integration facilities had been confirmed. Status report, she called. All departments report ready for extended operations, Commander Wright replied. Engineering confirms that our antimatter stores remain at 97% capacity. At current consumption rates, we could maintain combat operations for approximately 4 months. Weapons. All systems optimal. The quantum disruption arrays performed flawlessly during our demonstration. Commander Torres estimates we could engage and destroy approximately 2,000 enemy vessels before requiring resupply. Nodded, 2,000 ships was a conservative estimate that accounted for the possibility of encountering unexpected defensive technologies. In reality, based on what they had observed of capabilities, the Vengeance could probably engage the entire Imperial Navy and emerge victorious. What's the status of the rescue mission? Wright consulted his tactical displays. Intelligence confirms the locations of all 3 integration facility complexes. The nearest is approximately 18 hours away at maximum sustainable speed. Security around the facilities appears minimal. They really don't expect any rescue attempts. Why would they? Mused. No species has ever successfully challenged the Empire once their people were captured, until now. She studied the tactical display showing their current position relative to the massive expanse of the Empire. Thousands of systems, millions of ships, countless species that had been absorbed into the Imperial collective over the past millennium. By any rational assessment, they were hopelessly outnumbered. The thought brought a smile to her face. Humanity had never been particularly interested in rational assessments. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Davis called from communications, "I'm detecting increased military traffic throughout the sector. It looks like they're mobilizing everything they have." "How much is everything?" "Preliminary analysis suggests approximately 15,000 vessels converging on this region. Mix of fleet units, planetary defense forces, and what appear to be hastily recalled patrol groups. 15,000 ships against one human vessel. Estimated time to full concentration: 72 hours, assuming they maintain current deployment schedules." Absorbed this information. The aliens were doing exactly what their tactical doctrine would suggest, concentrating overwhelming force to crush an enemy that had demonstrated superior capabilities. It was logical, methodical, and exactly what she had expected. "Commander Wright, begin preparations for Operation Homecoming." "Yes, ma'am. All departments initiate rescue mission protocols. Navigation, plot course for the first integration facility. Weapons, prepare for potential defensive actions around civilian targets." As her crew began the complex process of preparing for the rescue of 2 million human beings from the heart of an enemy empire, allowed herself a moment to consider the broader implications of their mission. Humanity had sent the Vengeance not just to rescue their captured people, but to establish a new paradigm in galactic relations. For 1,000 years, the Empire had expanded unchallenged, absorbing species after species into their collective. They had built a civilization based on the assumption that resistance was futile, that technological superiority would always triumph over individual determination. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. "Captain," Chief Engineer's voice crackled over the intercom, "I'm reading massive gravitational distortions throughout the region. It looks like the aliens are moving some truly enormous vessels toward our position." Checked her tactical displays. Deep space sensors were indeed detecting massive objects moving through hyperspace toward their location. The energy signatures suggested vessels larger than anything in the Imperial database, possibly mobile space fortresses or converted asteroid bases. Analysis. Based on the gravitational signatures, we're looking at objects massing between 10 and 50 million tons each. I count at least 12 of them, possibly more. 50 million tons. The Vengeance, for all its impressive capabilities, massed only 8 million tons. The aliens were bringing weapons platforms that dwarfed even their massive battleship. Estimated capabilities. Unknown, ma'am. But if they're bringing that much mass to bear, we should assume they're equipped with their most advanced weapons technologies. Nodded thoughtfully. The Empire was escalating, bringing forces to bear that were probably intended to crack fortified worlds or destroy entire fleets. They were treating the Vengeance not as a single ship, but as an existential threat to their entire civilization. They weren't wrong. "Ma'am," Wright called softly, "are you concerned about the odds?" Looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. Men and women who had volunteered for a mission that every strategic analysis suggested was suicidal. They had left Earth knowing they might never return, knowing that they faced an empire with resources that dwarfed humanity's entire civilization. But they had also left Earth knowing that 2 million of their people were counting on them. That failure meant not just their own deaths, but the permanent loss of human beings to alien integration programs that would erase their identities, their cultures, their very humanity. "Commander," replied with a smile that had carried her through a dozen impossible battles, "I've never been concerned about odds. Odds are just mathematics. Human determination is something else entirely." She turned back to the tactical display showing the converging alien forces. 15,000 ships, 12 massive fortress platforms, the combined might of an empire that had never known defeat. "Besides," she added almost to herself, "they still don't understand what they're dealing with. They think this is about superior technology or better weapons or tactical advantages. Ma'am, it's not about any of those things, Commander. It's about the simple fact that we're human, and humans don't abandon their own. Not to aliens, not to an empire, not to anyone. Settled into her command chair as the Vengeance continued toward the first integration facility, carrying with it the hopes of 2 million captive humans, and the promise that no force in the galaxy was strong enough to break the bonds that held humanity together. Behind them, 15,000 alien warships prepared for a battle that would determine whether the Empire would continue its thousand-year expansion, or whether they had finally encountered a species that simply refused to be conquered. The first integration facility hung in space like a cancer, its twisted architecture designed to break the spirits of those imprisoned within. Captain studied the massive structure through the Vengeance's advanced sensors, cataloging defensive systems and identifying the location of human life signs scattered throughout the complex. "Report," she commanded quietly. "Facility designated as Integration Complex Theta 7, Commander Wright replied, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Approximately 400,000 human life signs detected across 17 different sections. The structure appears to be a converted asteroid mining station, heavily modified for processing operations." His jaw tightened as the sensor data painted a picture of systematic dehumanization. Cramped living quarters designed for beings much smaller than humans, work areas that required constant exposure to toxic atmospheric compounds, and what appeared to be medical facilities dedicated to biological modification. Security. Surprisingly light. 26 patrol craft, all frigate class or smaller, 2 defense platforms mounting standard particle beam arrays. They really don't expect any rescue attempts. Why would they? Mused. In 1,000 years of expansion, no species has ever successfully retrieved their people once they were taken by the Empire. She studied the tactical display, noting the positions of the guard ships and defense platforms. The aliens had positioned their forces to prevent escape attempts from within the facility, not to repel external assault. Their entire defensive doctrine was based on keeping prisoners in, not keeping rescuers out. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Davis called from communications, "I'm monitoring their internal communication networks. The facility commander is requesting clarification from Sector Command regarding reports of an unknown vessel in Imperial space." "How long until they receive a response?" "At current communication speeds, approximately 47 minutes for a signal to reach Sector Command and return." 47 minutes. More than enough time to complete the rescue operation and move on to the next facility. "Begin the operation," ordered. "All departments execute rescue protocol Homecoming Alpha." What followed was less a battle than a demonstration of the absolute futility of resisting human determination. The patrol craft that moved to intercept the Vengeance were simply erased from existence by quantum disruption beams that converted their matter to energy so efficiently that not even debris remained. The defense platforms managed to fire exactly 1 salvo each before suffering the same fate. The facility's shields, designed to withstand conventional bombardment, offered no resistance to weapons that operated on principles their designers had never imagined. Targeted quantum pulses selectively destroyed security systems while leaving life support and structural integrity intact. In less than 12 minutes, Integration Complex Theta 7 was defenseless and open to liberation. "Commander Torres, begin transport operations," ordered. "Aye, ma'am," initiating mass teleportation protocols. The Vengeance's most advanced technology came online with a subtle hum that seemed to resonate through the ship's hull. Quantum teleportation systems, powered by the vessel's massive antimatter reactors, began the complex process of simultaneously transporting 400,000 human beings across space. On the bridge's main display, sensor readings showed the gradual evacuation of the facility as groups of prisoners materialized in the Vengeance's vast cargo holds, which had been converted into temporary living spaces equipped with medical facilities, food distribution centers, and psychological support teams. "Status on the evacuees," called. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sarah Martinez's voice carried over the intercom from the medical bay. "Captain, initial assessments are disturbing. The aliens have begun biological modification procedures on approximately 30% of our people. Nothing irreversible, but we're seeing genetic markers that suggest attempted alteration of human reproductive systems. Closed her eyes briefly. Genetic modification. The Empire wasn't just trying to break human culture and identity, they were trying to alter humanity itself at the cellular level. Can the modifications be reversed? Yes, ma'am. Our medical technology is more than capable of restoring normal human genetic patterns. But, Captain, these people have been through systematic trauma designed to break their resistance to integration. Full psychological recovery is going to take time. They'll have all the time they need, replied firmly. No one gets left behind. Ma'am, Wright reported, transport operations are proceeding ahead of schedule. Current estimate is complete evacuation within 18 minutes. Excellent navigation. Plot course for integration complex Beta 4. Aye, ma'am. Transit time approximately 14 hours. As the Vengeance continued its systematic liberation of human prisoners, the Empire mobilized for the largest military operation in its 1,000-year history. Supreme Admiral stood in high command, watching tactical displays that showed the concentration of military assets from across dozens of sectors. Fleet status, he commanded. Sir, we now have 12,000 vessels in position around the human ship's projected course, Fleet Coordinator reported. An additional 6,000 ships are moving to reinforce positions around the remaining integration facilities. What about the fortress platforms? All 12-class mobile fortresses are now operational, combined firepower equivalent to the destruction of a medium-sized moon. Nodded grimly. They represented the Empire's ultimate weapons, mobile battle stations built around planet-cracking bombardment arrays. Each one was a converted asteroid equipped with gravitational manipulation, devices capable of tearing apart enemy fleets through pure gravitational force. Intelligence assessment of enemy capabilities. Sir, based on observed performance, the human vessel appears capable of engaging and destroying approximately 2,000 of our standard warships before sustaining significant damage. However, they operate on different principles entirely. Gravitational weapons cannot be defended against through conventional means. And if the humans have quantum-level defensive systems? Paused. Sir, even quantum manipulation cannot negate gravitational effects. Gravity operates at the fundamental level of space-time itself. If our gravitational weapons cannot damage this vessel, then it possesses technologies that exist beyond our current understanding of physics. Absorbed this information while watching the tactical displays show the continued movement of human vessel toward the second integration facility. The aliens had already demonstrated capabilities that challenged Imperial understanding of technology. If they possessed defensive systems that could negate gravitational weapons. Sir, Communications Director and interrupted urgently, priority transmission from Integration Complex Beta 4. They report the human vessel has arrived and is beginning assault operations. Impossible. Our projections showed 14 hours minimum transit time. Sir, the vessel appears to have exceeded light speed. Transit time was actually 6 hours and 23 minutes. Faster than light travel. Another impossible technology casually demonstrated by a species the Empire had dismissed as primitive. Connect me to Admiral Hun, commanding the 2nd Fortress Group. The display shifted to show the bridge of the Infinity's edge. Admiral Hun, veteran of 17 planetary assaults, stood surrounded by tactical displays showing gravitational field generators that could crush a moon. Supreme Admiral, Hun began, my fortress group is in position around Integration Complex Beta 4. We are prepared to engage the human vessel the moment it completes its rescue operations. Admiral, your orders are to demonstrate Imperial power. This human vessel has humiliated our fleets and made our entire military appear ineffective. The galaxy is watching. Show them that the Empire cannot be challenged. Understood, sir. The moment the alien ship moves to depart, we will demonstrate why the Empire has never been defeated. 6 hours later, Integration Complex Beta 4 hung as empty as its predecessor. Its 600,000 human prisoners successfully evacuated to the Vengeance's expanded living areas. Captain stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display show the positions of three massive fortress platforms moving to intercept their departure route. Analysis, she called. Gravitational manipulation platforms, Commander Torres reported from the tactical station. Each one masses approximately 30 million tons and is equipped with devices that can generate artificial gravity fields strong enough to crush standard armor. Essentially, they're planning to squeeze us to death. Effective range: approximately 1 million kilometers for maximum gravitational effect. They're positioned to create overlapping fields that should be impossible to escape once we're within range. Studied the alien formations with professional interest. Gravitational weapons were an inspired choice. Most defensive systems operated through deflection or energy absorption, neither of which would be effective against direct manipulation of space-time. Most defensive systems. Do they understand quantum field mechanics? She asked. Torres consulted her technical databases. According to our intelligence, Imperial science has a theoretical understanding of quantum fields, but hasn't developed practical applications. Then they don't understand that gravitational effects can be negated through quantum phase shifting. Ma'am smiled. Commander, gravity is just curved space-time. If you shift matter into quantum phase alignment with space-time curvature, gravitational effects become irrelevant. So their ultimate weapons are useless against us. Completely, but they don't know that yet. Orders, ma'am. Looked at the tactical display showing three fortress platforms equipped with weapons that could destroy planets, manned by crews who had never known defeat, commanded by officers convinced they were about to save their empire. Let them fire first, she said quietly. I want them to understand exactly how outmatched they are before we respond. Ma'am, that seems risky. Commander, we didn't come here to demonstrate superior firepower. We came here to demonstrate that humanity cannot be stopped. There's a difference. As the Vengeance moved toward the intercept point, where three of the Empire's most powerful weapons platforms waited to crush them with artificial gravity, Captain reflected on the broader implications of their mission. 2 facilities down, 1 to go. 800,000 human beings successfully rescued and on their way home. But more importantly, the galaxy was watching as a single human ship systematically dismantled the military reputation of a 1,000-year-old empire. They had built their civilization on the assumption that superior numbers and firepower could overcome any resistance. They were about to learn that some species simply refused to accept defeat, regardless of the odds. Ma'am, Wright reported, entering gravitational weapon range in 30 seconds. All hands prepare for gravitational assault. Show our passengers that they're safe now, no matter what these aliens try. Settled into her command chair as proximity alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Around her, the crew of the Vengeance prepared to demonstrate that human engineering could overcome even the manipulation of gravity itself. The Empire's ultimate weapons were about to become as useless as every other force they had tried to bring against humanity's absolute refusal to surrender. Admiral Hun watched his targeting displays with grim satisfaction as the human vessel entered the gravitational trap his 3 fortress platforms had prepared. 30 million tons of engineering dedicated to a single purpose: the generation of gravitational fields powerful enough to crush any known material. Target acquired, his weapons coordinator reported. Gravitational field generators at maximum power. Fire, Hun ordered. Space itself twisted around the Vengeance as 3 platforms unleashed the Empire's most devastating weapons. Gravity fields that could compress a moon into a sphere the size of a starship focused on the human vessel with mathematical precision. The very fabric of space-time bent and warped as forces equivalent to the gravitational pull of a neutron star converged on their target. For exactly 3 seconds, Admiral Hun believed he had achieved the impossible victory that would save the Empire. Then the human ship simply ignored the gravitational assault and continued on its course unchanged. Report, he shouted. Sir, gravitational fields are at maximum intensity. Target should be experiencing crushing forces equivalent to... The weapons coordinator's voice trailed off as his instruments registered the impossible. Sir, the target shows no structural stress whatsoever. That's impossible. Nothing can resist direct gravitational manipulation. Sir, I'm detecting some kind of quantum field emission from the target. It's, it's like they're existing in a different phase of space-time. Hun stared at his displays in disbelief. 40 years of military service, veteran of dozens of campaigns, destroyer of rebellions across 3 galactic quadrants. He had never encountered an enemy that could simply ignore the fundamental forces of physics. All platforms concentrate fire, maximum power. The 3 fortress platforms poured their combined energy into gravitational field generation, creating a localized distortion so intense that light itself bent around the target zone. The energy expenditure was enormous. Each platform was consuming power at rates that would drain their reactors within minutes. The human ship continued on its course as if nothing was happening. Admiral, his communications officer called urgently. Incoming transmission from the target. Put it through. The main display showed the same human female who had spoken to Admiral days ago. But now, instead of diplomatic warnings, her expression carried something far more dangerous, professional assessment. Admiral Hun, the human began, and Hun felt ice in his veins that she knew his name. Your gravitational weapons are impressive. Under normal circumstances, they would indeed be capable of destroying any vessel in space. Human, you will surrender immediately or... Admiral, I'm not speaking to you as an enemy. I'm speaking to you as one military officer to another. Your weapons are ineffective because they operate on principles my species mastered decades ago. Gravitational manipulation is elementary physics to us. The transmission paused, and when the human continued, her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. I could destroy your platforms now, all 3 of them along with their crews in approximately 15 seconds. But I want you to understand something first. Your empire has based its expansion on the assumption that technological superiority equals inevitable victory. You've conquered species after species because you possessed better weapons, better ships, better coordination. What is your point, human? My point, Admiral, is that you've never encountered a species that treats technological challenges as problems to be solved rather than barriers to be accepted. When you demonstrated gravitational weapons, we didn't surrender. We developed quantum phase technology. When you showed us energy shields, we created matter disruptors. When you revealed faster-than-light travel, we built ships that can exceed light speed by orders of magnitude. Hun felt something he had never experienced in 4 decades of military service. The cold realization that he was facing an enemy that existed beyond his understanding of possible. Humanity doesn't just adapt to new challenges, Admiral. We thrive on them. Every obstacle you place in our path becomes fuel for innovation. Every weapon you deploy against us becomes inspiration for our engineers. The transmission ended, and for a moment, Hun's command center remained silent except for the humming of gravitational field generators that continued to pour useless energy into space. Then the human ship opened fire. What happened next would become legendary in the annals of military history across a dozen species. The Vengeance didn't destroy the 3 fortress platforms through conventional bombardment or energy weapons. Instead, it demonstrated a level of technological precision that redefined the concept of warfare itself. Quantum disruption beams, invisible to conventional sensors, reached out across space and selectively dissolved the molecular bonds holding together specific components of each platform. Not random destruction, but surgical precision that targeted exactly the systems necessary to disable the weapons while leaving life support and escape pod systems completely intact. In less than 30 seconds, 3 of the Empire's most powerful weapons platforms had been reduced to helpless hulks, their crews unharmed, but their capability to resist eliminated entirely. Admiral Hun stared at his displays showing the systematic shutdown of systems throughout his flagship. Weapons, shields, propulsion, all disabled by an enemy that had chosen to demonstrate mercy rather than annihilation. Admiral, his communications officer whispered, "Incoming message." The display showed the human captain again, but this time she wasn't addressing Hun. This time she was speaking to the galaxy. To all species of the Empire, and to any others who may receive this transmission, I am Captain Sarah of the United Earth Ship Vengeance. I am transmitting this message from Imperial space after successfully completing the rescue of 2 million human citizens from integration facilities. paused, allowing her words to sink in across communication networks throughout the galaxy. For the past several days, Imperial forces have attempted to prevent this rescue operation using progressively more advanced weapons and tactics. They have deployed fleets numbering in the thousands, weapons platforms capable of destroying planets, and gravitational manipulation devices that represent the pinnacle of Imperial technology. All of these efforts have failed. I want to be absolutely clear about why they have failed. It is not because humans possess superior firepower, though we do. It is not because human ships are more advanced, though they are. It is not even because human tactical doctrine is more sophisticated, though it is. Imperial forces have failed because they fundamentally misunderstand what humanity represents. Its voice carried across space to billions of beings on thousands of worlds, many of whom had never imagined that the Empire could be successfully challenged. The Empire has built its civilization on the principle that resistance is futile, that superior numbers and advanced technology will inevitably triumph over individual determination, that any species can be absorbed into the Imperial collective given sufficient time and pressure. Humanity rejects this principle absolutely. We are the species that looked at a universe full of dangers and decided we belonged among the stars anyway. We are the species that turned every setback into motivation and every defeat into a lesson. We are the species that believes individual freedom and cultural identity are worth any sacrifice necessary to preserve them. To the member species of the Empire, I say this: you have not been conquered. You have been convinced that conquest was inevitable, but inevitability is just another challenge to be overcome. To the leadership of the Empire, I say this: humanity claims sovereignty over our people and our space. Any attempt to interfere with human citizens or human settlements will be met with a response that makes today's demonstration seem restrained in comparison. And to anyone in the galaxy who believes that might makes right, that advanced technology justifies domination, that superior numbers grant the authority to rule others, I say this: you are welcome to test that belief against human determination. We'll be waiting. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Hun staring at a blank screen while around him, the crew of his disabled flagship tried to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Supreme Admiral stood in high command, surrounded by tactical displays showing the complete destruction of Imperial military credibility across multiple sectors. Communication networks buzzed with reports of successful human rescue operations, the casual annihilation of Imperial defense forces, and most disturbing of all, the first stirrings of rebellion among integrated species who had begun to believe that resistance might not be futile after all. Damage assessment, he commanded quietly. Sir, total military losses include over 400 vessels destroyed, 3 fortress platforms disabled, and most importantly, complete failure to prevent enemy rescue operations. All 3 integration facilities have been emptied of human prisoners. What about the human vessel? Sir, last sensor contact showed the ship departing Imperial space at approximately 4 times light speed. Current location unknown, but projected course suggests return to human territory. Absorbed this information while contemplating the end of everything his civilization had believed about its place in the galaxy. A single ship had penetrated Imperial space, rescued 2 million prisoners, defeated every force deployed against it, and departed unharmed. More importantly, it had demonstrated to every species in the Empire that they could be defeated. Sir, Intelligence Coordinator reported, we're receiving reports of civil unrest on 17 integrated worlds. Populations that have been peaceful for decades are demanding autonomy. Local commanders are requesting guidance on suppression protocols. Sir, Communications Director added, long-range sensors are detecting multiple unknown vessels approaching from the direction of human space. Large formations, moving at impossible velocities. Felt the weight of 1,000 years of Imperial dominance crashing down around him. The humans hadn't sent just one ship to rescue their people. They had sent an advance force to demonstrate their capabilities, while their main fleet prepared for something far more comprehensive. Send a message to the Imperial Council, he ordered quietly. Inform them that the Empire has encountered a species that cannot be integrated through conventional means. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact to establish terms for coexistence. Sir, the Council will not accept a recommendation for negotiation with a primitive species. Then tell them this, replied, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. Tell them that the humans are not primitive. Tell them that human technology exceeds our understanding of physics. Tell them that we just watched a single human vessel demonstrate the ability to systematically destroy imperial civilization whenever they choose to do so. And tell them that the humans have just sent a message to every species in the galaxy that resistance to tyranny is not just possible, it's inevitable. As alarms began sounding throughout High Command, warning of the approach of unknown vessels that moved faster than Imperial sensors could track, Supreme Admiral realized that the Empire's thousand-year dominance of this region of space was ending. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and they had brought with them a simple message. Some species simply refused to be conquered, regardless of the odds against them. The galaxy would never be the same,